Welcome back, subscribers, and welcome new viewers. This is my third viewer request for Chiron, and today it's going to be Chiron in Libra and the 7th house. So if you have your Chiron in Libra or in the 7th house, this is for you. All right, and I really appreciate all of you who have subscribed to my channel and all of the likes and the sharing that you do in the comments, because that assists this channel in going out into reaching more and more souls who need this information as well and who are searching for this information. So thank you all so very much for tuning in. All right. Okay. And thank you, specifically viewer, you know who you are, who asked for this specific reading. Okay. With this placement, relationships are of prime importance, and Chiron will be met here in all his varying facets. We may walk into the fire and be hurt many times. This situation is often a repetition of our early relationship with the parent of the opposite sex, and can make us believe that relationships are dangerous and should be avoided, or at least approached in full battle gear. So you're automatically going to come in with this feeling. This is where it comes from. This may lead us into sorrow, isolation, and defensiveness until we have recognized the source of the repetition. Our early environment may have been characterized by destructive relating, or perhaps non-relating, a mask of politeness being kept up to conceal hostility, vengeance, and competitiveness. Shades of the first house and Aries, and they're saying that because, for those of you that don't know, Libra and the 7th house opposes Aries in the first house. Okay. We may therefore have learned more how to defend ourselves than how to form relationships, and matters are complicated by the enemy being essentially unseen. Feelings that are not expressed can wound us more than feelings which are openly acknowledged, even if they are unpleasant. Okay, I'm going to read that sentence again. That just seems of great importance. Feelings that are not expressed can wound us more than feelings which are openly acknowledged, even if they are unpleasant. We may have learned how to please everyone, how to be all things to all people, how to smooth over potential conflicts. We may have an overdose of Libran diplomacy and tact, leaving us fearful, brittle, and defensive. For with Chiron in Libra or the 7th house, we are more than usually disturbed by interpersonal conflict, perhaps because of this overt or subterranean conflict in the early environment. Paradoxically, here we may be paradoxically, here may be another example of the wound being healed by the sword that inflicted it. With Chiron in Libra or the 7th house, we are empowered by learning how to stay creatively in situations fraught with conflict, how to fight cleanly, and trust the relationship process through the process. I want to read that sentence again because that's what you're learning. That's what it's saying. That's awesome. Paradoxically, here may be another example of the wound being healed by the sword that inflicted it. With Chiron in Libra or the seventh house, we are empowered by learning how to stay creatively in situations fraught with conflict, how to fight cleanly, and trust the relationship through the process. That's very, very outstandingly good. In Libra in the seventh house, we also first meet the, quote, other, both, quote, other people different from us, and also our own internal other, the shadow or unconscious side of our nature. Qualities represented by planets in the seventh house are often first met out there, projected onto others, towards whom we experience strong emotions. With Chiron in Libra or the seventh house, many learning experiences come through recognizing ourselves through the mirror of others, and also by learning to respect others' differences and separateness. Where there is other, there is fear, is a saying in the, I'm not sure if this word is Upanishads, Upanishads. I'm not quite how to pronounce that. This Chiron placement increases our tendency to react to people as if they are extensions of ourselves. Our emotional reactions to others may be more to do with ourselves than with them. We could experience difficulties in relationships where others seem to fight us. In reality, they are fighting not to be the image we project upon them. So let me read that one more time. We could experience difficulties in relationships where others seem to fight us. In reality, they are fighting not to be the image we project upon them. Situations of emotional bondage may develop in this way. Relationships may eventually become wounding for both people concerned and probably will self-destruct. Again, but you're becoming consciously aware, viewers and subscribers who are listening, all of you, you're becoming aware of this so that that doesn't have to happen, because this is coming from you. This has to do with the energies that were coming to you at your birth. This is why I love astrology so much. It is just outstandingly awesome. It gives us information, it gives us facts of where these feelings come from and why. And then we can put them in their appropriate place. Okay. As Chiron's image already involves an uneasy yoking of irreconcilables, when it is in the seventh house, it increases the tendency to enact our Chiron issues vicariously. For example, we might unconsciously cast ourselves into one of the roles associated with Chiron: the wounded one, the healer or teacher, the apprentice, the outcast, the savior, the hero, and the one who wounds. We then attract to us people who represent the opposite. Indeed, with this Chiron placement, we learn a lot about ourselves by looking at the kind of people we are drawn to and who are drawn to us, as they symbolize our own potentials or weaknesses. For example, if we always attract lame ducks, it might mean that we are not acknowledging a painful failure of our own, or that we need these people in order to feel powerful. If we always relate to dominating people, it may mean we are not owning up to our own power. If we frequently end up feeling victimized in relationships, we will need slowly to discover the mechanisms with which we unwittingly cause this to happen. And again, no guilt at all, any of you, for any of this, because this is what you were born with. This is what you were given. Now you can start taking care of it and putting it in its place. However that might be for you. For if we persist in seeing the one who wounds as outside ourselves, we may blame others and ignore our own part, thus leaving ourselves open to it happening again and again. The attitude of being an innocent bystander does not work very well when Chiron is in the 7th house or Libra. With this placement, there is often one major relationship which we experienced as very wounding, from which we cannot escape, or from which we take a long time to recover. For we meet the archetypal world through other people, and the accompanying emotional voltage and pain may be a feature of our lives. Although our relationships, on one level, echo a relationship with a parent, with this Chiron placement, healing often seems to come through recognizing the archetypal level. And this is what you're in the process of doing. And I wanted to say back up here too, when it says you might be doing this over and over again, well, of course you will, until you're able to bring this out into your conscious awareness, which is what you're doing right now. So bravo to all of you who are listening right now, because this is what you're in the process of doing. Good for you. Keep going. For example, okay, no, I don't need to do that one because that's an example. That's a personal example. So I'm just skipping through to the definite personal examples because this is a general reading. So any of you who want me to send this through email to you, a copy of this, you just send me an email and I will do that to whatever email you send it from or you tell me. Okay. And you can find my emails are all they're in the description box below in every single video that I've ever done. Okay. With Chiron in Libra or the 7th house, we could have unwanted periods of separation and isolation forced upon us. We might continue in hurtful relationships until one day we feel, that's it, I've had enough. And we close the shutters of our hearts and cut ourselves off from people. However, this withdrawal can also be a creative time. If we are able to use the space behind the barrier to do some soul searching and discover what is really happening. With this placement, we have a strong need to be separate and an equally strong resistance to it. We periodically need space and distance from others to reclaim what we may have projected on to them. We might also tend to displace our feelings and emotions. For example, someone with Chiron in the 7th house was in a relationship in which he felt constricted, hurt, and unappreciated. As he had difficulty confronting the situation directly, he tended to vent his feelings elsewhere. The kick the dog syndrome. His feelings of anger spread into several other relationships, which all suffered and became increasingly strained and unreal. He longed to escape them all and be totally alone. With Chiron in Libra or the seventh house, we learn a great deal through encountering the less pleasant effects of relationships. The Martian qualities of Aries and the first house are echoed here. We could become involved in subterranean power struggles, wanting only to relate on our terms and surreptitiously asserting our own will. We are very competitive, but perhaps blissfully unaware of it. We could unconsciously provoke others and stir up conflict in order to divert ourselves from our own inner tension. Conversely, we might also be very afraid of these qualities and fall foul of them in others. However, with Chiron in Libra or the seventh house, we might need to accept the fact that not everyone is going to like us if we are being our true selves. And that having enemies does not make us bad people. Your sense of individuality need not stand or fall on whether others like it. If we are in a relationship with someone who has Chiron in Libra or the seventh house, we need to learn to stand our own ground and not get drawn into being their opposite number. Although those with this placement long to grow through being challenged in relationships, they often make it difficult for this to happen, as their own wound or blind spot is in this very area. We are likely to receive venomous reprisals or stony silences if we tread near it. On the other hand, if we do not, the relationship may grind to a halt. People with this placement are very sensitive to being judged or scrutinized. They may experience the feeling of separateness as an attack, or judge us as cold and detached. They have a horror of being irrational and unfair, and may therefore be over diplomatic and cautious in expressing their feelings. They are often afraid of their own negative feelings, which can build up and erupt in scenes of mutual accusation. It seems that with Chiron in Libra or the seventh house, if we can't honor the need to be alone, separate and unrelated, we will act it out literally. We, or our partner, may pack our bags and go, when a little more emotional honesty might have sufficed. And again, those of you that either happened to or you personally did to someone else, this is where it's coming from. So now you have a solution, and you can put it in its proper place and make amends for some of you that can and choose to do so and are ready to do so, or when you're ready to do so, if possible. So this cleans it all up. That's really, really good. It cleans it up for you and them both. People with Chiron in Libra or the seventh house seem often to marry or have close relationships with people who work in the healing field. They might even assume the role of the wounded one, and in this case, a very destructive situation results. People who have one or both parents who are doctors, priests, healers, or teachers are especially vulnerable to this. People with Chiron in Libra or the seventh house have a great deal to offer in areas of healing where the quality of the relationship is a central factor. Although relationships are important in any therapeutic situation, these people excel when the dynamics of relating are worked with directly and consciously. Okay. For example, in situations of transference as encountered in psychoanalytic therapy. This is yet another example of the wound being healed by the spear that caused it. There is a version of Chiron's story in which he took a wounded centaur into his cave. Because the wound was poisoned with the blood of the Hydra, it infected Chiron, who thus received his incurable wound. People with Chiron in Libra or the seventh house who work in the field of healing may find themselves always confronted with their own pain through their clients. This placement gives the gift of being in touch with both the human and the archetypal levels within relationships. The experience of being truly seen in this way can be very healing, and those with Chiron in Libra or the seventh house have much to offer those to whom they relate, both in terms of insight and also in terms of the ability to let them have their space. Okay. Finally, in the Orestia, the goddess Athene appears as a figure of reconciliation, justice, and respect for potentially negative forces. She provides us with an evocative image of Chiron in the seventh house or Libra. Athene was as famous for her prowess in battle as for her benevolence in peace and her civilizing influence. She never actively provoked a battle, but nor did she ever lose one. In the Orestes, I hope I'm saying that correctly, I'm not sure, slays his mother to avenge the murder of his father, and thus invokes the wrath of the Furies who pursue him relentlessly into exile and madness. He finally seeks refuge in the temple of Athene, and she appoints a court to decide his fate. A suitably Libran scenario. However, the votes are equally divided, and Athene herself has the casting vote. She sets Orestes free, purging him of blood guilt, but thus invoking the rage of the Furies upon herself. She gradually wins them over with respect. I will bear with your anger. You are older. She assures them that no house can thrive without you. She guarantees them a place in the new order where pain and anguish end, and actually begs them to stay. Eventually, their wrath is appeased by her compassionate persuasiveness, her frank admission of the similarities between herself and the Furies, and her willingness to include and respect them. Likewise, with Chiron in Libra, we might continually be confronted by the Furies in relationships until we learn to include and respect their world without being dragged back into it. For just as the seventh house and Libra represent another important threshold of separation, here the Furies of our own regressive desires may confront us, and Athene's treatment of them perhaps provides a metaphor of how to proceed. Okay. Well, that is all I have. There you have it. And so if you have any questions, comments, or other viewers that might have come upon this video and you have another half to it, and you'd like me to read the other half of yours, if I haven't already, like I said, this is the third one, so you can check in my 2 previous ones to see if either one of those has either one of your whether it's your house sign or your zodiac sign that you're still needing. And if they don't, if it's not there and you'd like me to read it, please send me a comment. Let me know what it is, zodiac sign or house placement, that you'd like me to read. Or you can email me either way, and I would be happy to do that. All right. Okay. Until next time. Bye.